Hello and welcome to another 5K tennis fantasy team or fantasy league competition, as well as our usual tennis racket giveaway. So what we will do in this video, and that's all we will do in this video, is talk about the rules to play and tell you about some of the prizes that we are going to give away. If you follow this channel, you know that Carla and I, we have lost the gist of our house. We have been able to come here and sit in this room. So again, pardon the kind of mess behind us. It's kind of hot and sticky and kind of moldy in here. But nonetheless, we decided to go ahead and do it. This competition, once again, just to help us, stick with the normal lives that we're used to living. So we're going to do it. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is get the easy one out of the way. So we are going to give away the same tennis racket that was not won by anyone during the U.S. Open, and that is a Dunlop Srixon Revo 2.0 with a 4 1/4 grip. Carla used it as kind of a demo and a play test, and we were testing some strings out for Y-Tech strings, and she used that racket during that period of time. I don't have that racket on us here. It is now put up in a place to get out of this kind of moldy house. So you can go to the playlist for the U.S. Open, and I go through all the prizes for the U.S. Open fantasy team and tennis racket giveaway at the beginning of that video. So if you want to see the prizes that we will give out, sorry I don't have them to go through now, but strings, shirts for the tennis racket giveaway, her racket, and it's all pictured in that first video from the last competition for the U.S. Open. So go to playlists, go to fantasy team for the U.S. Open 2020, and you can see in the first video all the prizes, okay?
All right.
So, and let me know if I miss anything, and if I do miss anything, just let me know in comments, and I'll do my best to answer them as quick as possible. All right, so for the tennis racket giveaway, again, it's a slightly used racket, but it's a very nice racket. All you have to do is when the draws come out, and I think they come out today at around 11 Central Standard Time, our time. Mm-hmm. When the draws come out, go through your men's draw and your women's draw, and predict the two men's finalists and predict the two women's finalists and select both winners. If you are able to predict both the winners for the men, or excuse me, both the winners for the men and women and the four finalists, then you will win the tennis racket. That hasn't happened in a while. Everyone was on due course to win it for the U.S. Open until the Djokovic disqualification, and unfortunately that cost pretty much everyone because everyone had Djokovic. So I'm assuming that a lot of you will be picking a Rafael Nadal or a Djokovic final here. I'm just guessing, and a lot of you will probably pick Djokovic or Nadal to win. We used to do just pick 3 out of the 4 finalists, and sometimes even just one winner. But because the big 3, we were giving away tennis rackets. Like we gave away like 4 rackets in a row. We gave away like a Wilson Byrne. Anyway, we gave away a lot of rackets. So we're gonna stick with predict both men's finalists, both women's finalists, and both winners, and you will win the tennis racket. If someone ties you, so let's say 2 people have the same final. If someone ties you, then I will go to the fantasy team results to break the tie. So if you are interested in playing the tennis racket giveaway, you do not have to play fantasy team, but if you don't, and someone ties you and they have any fantasy points, they will win, okay? So next is the prize giveaways, and that is what we do the fantasy teams for. So the prizes will consist of, and a lot of you have won this before, but the prizes will consist of, say 2 sets of Y-Tech strings. I happen to have a set here. They were usually on the walls behind me, but 2 sets of strings, maybe a Y-Tech shirt, and what else do we have? We got some Australian Open stuff.
So hats, I think.
Yeah, and some of you haven't won it either or. You just enjoy to play. So Carla and I said, well, we can do like $20 US through PayPal or Venmo or something. And the top two competitors that have the most points, so there's 2 winners, and they will receive the same prize, but the top 2 winners will be winners, if that made any sense whatsoever. So if there's 30 people that play, the 2 highest scores will win the identical type prize. Okay. All right. So how does this work? So you must select a total of 16 players, 8 men and 8 women. Okay, 8 men, 8 women. Now on the men's and women's teams that you select, you can only have a maximum of 4. A maximum of 4 on the men's side and a maximum of 4 on the women's side that are seeded in the draws once they come out within the top 20. make sure you look at the draws. It's sometimes I try to catch everybody's mistakes, and sometimes I just can't quite catch them all. Like, for instance, on the tennis racket giveaway for the U.S. Open, someone made it, I thought, until right before Djokovic lost, or lost himself, accidentally lost or whatever. And then I realized that they had like Sophia Kenin and Serena Williams as their predictive finalists, but they couldn't meet in the final because they're on the same part of the draw. So look at the draws, because if you miss stuff like that, then I may not catch it. Now, when I say seeded, I mean not ranked in the world. I mean seeded in the draw. Let me explain. We've had a couple majors where I think Felix Auger-Aliassime was ranked like 21st or ranked 21st in the world, but came in seeded like 19 or 20. So make sure it's seeded, because if you have too many 1-point picks, that is within the top 20, then one of those picks I'll just scratch off. So try to catch your mistakes. So the best players at these at the fantasy competitions, by the way, generally hardly pick any 1-point players. Hardly any players that are seeded within the top 20. Why? Because the ones seeded in the top 20 are only worth 1 point per match win. The ones seeded outside of the top 20 are worth 2 points per match win. So as the tournament goes through, round 1 all the way through the final, which is 7 rounds, if I have a player that wins 3 rounds and they're a 2-point player, right? So let's say I'm going to pick on Stefan Nizovic out there. He was one of the 2 people that won last fantasy team. I'm going to read you his team, okay? On the men's side, he was a winner. On the men's side, Stefan had Medvedev and Tsitsipas. He's from Serbia and didn't even pick Djokovic, okay? So that helped him tremendously, but he had Medvedev and Tsitsipas. That was his only men that were worth 1 point each, okay? He had Hurkacz, Murray, De Minaur, Cilic, Raonic, and Krajinovic. Those were all 2-point players, okay? So even though he lost a couple of his 1-pointers, he was able to get 8 points off De Minaur by making it to the 4th round, right? So anyway, think about that. On the women's side, he only had 2 1-point players, and that was Pliskova and Muguruza. He killed it on the women's side with his 2-pointers. He had Jabeur, Brady, Anisimova, Cornet, Putintseva, and Azarenka. So Azarenka made a killing for him. And so
but I think Azarenka will be ranked now, right?
I'm not sure. We'll have to see when the draws come out. So 8 men's players and 8 women's players. Generally, if you pick, say, Nadal, Djokovic, Federer, and Tsitsipas, and you lose any one of those guys early, I mean, you don't have any 2-point players but 4 to try to make up that ground. So most of the competitors that load their draws with 4 top women and 4 top men, generally they don't come close to winning. I have seen some where the tournament comes out just like that, and then they'll win some, but still the 2-point players, with a lot of them, all they need is a couple of rounds and they're beating you pretty badly. But hey, the strategy is up to you. I've seen it work both ways, but the majority of winners methodically go through their draws and look for 2-point players that is seeded outside of the top 20 that they think or almost positive are going to win a couple of rounds. So be careful with that. Where do you put your picks? Put your picks for your fantasy team selections and for the tennis racket giveaway, both men's finalists, both women's finalists, and your predicted winners of each, and put them in this video in the comment section. If you don't know how to do that, it's my understanding you hit like a little a button on your phone or an arrow, and it says comments, and then the comments will expand. Most of the players most of the competitors, you guys like to talk back and forth with one another. Number one, so if there's 2 people close to the competition or close in the competition, they could say, hey, I need you to lose that guy. And the other guy or gal is like, well, I need you to lose this person. Okay, we're battling it out. Now these 2 people that we have that are different, now they're going head to head. Man, I hope I win. So it leads to some good smack talk between competitors. Number 2, another reason is right now we don't really have a house to stay in. We are kind of satellite moving around until this thing gets hopefully fixed. So I don't have like a big area to set stuff out on like I normally do, or a table in there's already got mold growing on it and so forth. I won't get into that. But put them here in the comment section, number 2, so I can keep up with it myself. I do keep notebooks and I do keep up with all these scores. It's time consuming, but because of limited stability right now because of this hurricane, it would be much easier for me to go up into the comments and start keeping track of them, and maybe I can jot them down on my papers later on in the evening. Make sure that if you if you have any mistakes, you catch them before the first ball is struck. This upcoming, what is it, Sunday action starts. First round starts, I think, Sunday.
Correct.
Once the first ball is struck, the deadline for the fantasy teams and for the tennis racket giveaway will be done. It will no longer, I will no longer accept any more entries. So first ball struck, the competition is locked. Okay, did I miss anything here, Carla, at all?
No, I think that was pretty long.
All right, so I'm sorry for the length there. I look forward to doing it. Again, thanks so much for sticking with us through this very difficult time. The support has been absolutely incredible. I can't overstress that how much we really appreciate it. So anyway, so put your comments here, put your fantasy teams here, put your tennis racket giveaway finalists and winners here, and make sure you look at the draws, because again, if you predict the tennis racket and you have two people on the same side of the draw, I mean, you just lose your chance. If you have more people seated in the top 20, and I start to write them down, and I just don't have the time because of this to catch it, then I'll just have to scratch one off and leave one entry blank. So just be careful with that, and I think that's it, right?
That's it.
All right, we are going to do a live show today. When the draws come out, Carla are going to go back to the church where we are staying, and much love to Dauphin Island Baptist Church for letting us do so. We're going to go back there, we're going to print the draws, and we are going to go through the draws methodically, and Carla and I will predict our winners for the tennis racket. That we won't win our own thing anyway. We will predict our fantasy teams, and we'll talk about that. We'll go through some of the draw stuff this afternoon. Now, every tennis channel on the planet will always do a draw breakdown, and you know, kind of like tennis tournaments these days at the junior level, they're just watered down. So hopefully we can kind of steer away from doing what everyone else does and maybe do something that's unique to here, positive energy, good talk, whatever. But we'll go live at some point after, I think it's 11 o'clock Central Standard Time. They come out, give us about an hour to go through them, write down some notes, and we'll go live and try to discuss those a little bit later on, all right? Trying to stay positive, trying to stay motivated, right? So you guys are helping us do that. Thanks so much, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.